So in this video we will talk about the Feynman Technique, which is a study technique used by various students around the world to learn almost everything. First of all, who was Richard Feynman? Richard Feynman was a famous physicist. He made significant contributions to physics throughout his career, for which he was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1965 for his work in quantum electrodynamics. Beyond his scientific achievements, Feynman was also known for his teaching style. He was an effective communicator who could explain complex concepts in simple terms, which led to development of the Feynman Technique. Feynman passed away on February 15, 1988, leaving behind a lasting legacy in the field of physics and education. So, like I've said, I wanted to talk about the Feynman Technique, which is especially useful if you are learning complex topics in school or you're just generally interested in learning new stuff. But what is the Feynman Technique? So, like the Roman Stoic Seneca once said, while we teach, we learn. So, to truly understand something, you would have to be able to teach it. When using the Feynman method, you're doing exactly that. You play a fictitious teacher who has to convey a concept to a person with little to no knowledge in this field. You may ask yourself, why should I use the Feynman technique? So, first of all, it's pretty simple. So, the technique encourages you to break down complex topics into simple explanations, which enhances the understanding for others and yourself. That means, so if you want to understand something truly and fully, you take it and put it in easier language. That means you can explain it to a child or something. Then secondly, the identification of knowledge gaps. When you attempt to explain something to someone else, you might find yourself not finding the exact thing you wanted to say. That is a knowledge gap. You don't know exactly what it is and what is supposed to do. And the Feynman technique helps you with that. It helps you identifying your knowledge gaps. Next, active learning. The Feynman technique requires active engagement with the material, which is, by many people, the preferred method to learn something. By explaining concepts, your own words, you actively process and integrate the information, which enhances learning. Next is retention. So that means you can keep the things you learned for a longer time because you have explained it to others. If you haven't done that, I'm not really sure if you would be able to keep something as long as if you have explained it to someone else. Clarification and understanding is also one thing. You can clarify something, you can understand it better if you try to explain it even to yourself in simpler terms, just a topic, and then just understand the subject while you're talking about it, which has helped me personally in very few fields like economy. You also train your communication skill, which is definitely a skill you should not overlook these days, as it becomes even more and more important in today's world. So you're learning how to explain complex ideas in simple ways so that anyone can understand it. Basically, that is a huge important thing to have. Now you may find asking yourself, how do I apply the concept? First of all, you'd have to choose a concept or a topic. That means you choose a topic you are interested in or you have to learn for school, which I prefer the first one. You should choose a topic that you're interested in because you are gonna spend much time reading about the topic, listening to books, reading books, listening to podcasts, anything like that. You will spend a lot of time with that topic. Secondly, you have to teach the concept. This step involves breaking down this subject into small components so that everyone in your group or at your enterprise can understand it. You can do this by the following steps. First of all, you can write an explanation. Write down an explanation of the concept as if you were teaching it to someone who is unfamiliar. So that can be done with Word, you can write it in your notes app, you can write it on paper with your hands, which is also a great way to remember it. Or you can use analogies and examples. So you incorporate analogies, metaphors, or real-world examples to illustrate the concept. Then you'd have to check for understanding. After writing your explanation, review it and ensure clarity and coherence. So that means if you find that your concept isn't clear yet, that there is still some gaps in your knowledge, you go back to step 1 and you relearn everything you've done in order to fill those gaps. If gaps can't be filled, you can never truly understand the concept. After that, I want you to go to someone who just knows little about the topic. Could it be your brother, your sister, your mother, a friend of yours, someone like that. And I want you to talk to them about the topic with the help of your explanation you've written down or used analogies for. If they give you the feedback that they didn't understand the topic, I want you to go back, review it, and then fill in the knowledge gaps you found yourself. So you can ask your vis-a-vis who, or better said, what didn't you understand about the topic? What do you need to understand the topic? The person tells you something, and if they tell you that, I want you to write it down on a piece of paper and go back and review your explanation. If there are gaps, I want you to go back to your book and read it again, or at least the gaps you think you have. And then you have to go over your explanation again and put it in. If you can now tell the explanation and the other person that you're talking to understands it, that means you are basically in the possession of the knowledge of this subject.